The first man in 105 years. Alien women surrounded me instantly. The metallic taste of recycled air filled Marcus Thorne's lungs as consciousness clawed its way back into his mind. His eyes fluttered open to blinding white lights and the rhythmic beeping of medical equipment. Every muscle in his body screamed in protest as he tried to move, the aftereffect of cryosleep making his limbs feel like lead. "He's awake," a voice said, melodic, alien, and distinctly feminine. Marcus's vision cleared slowly, and what he saw made him question whether he was still dreaming. Surrounding his medical pod were at least a dozen women, but not entirely human. Their skin ranged from pale cream to deep azure, with subtle iridescent patterns that caught the light. Some had hair that seemed to move with its own luminescence, while others bore elegant markings across their faces and necks. Where am I?" Marcus managed a croak, his throat dry as desert sand. A woman stepped forward, her bearing unmistakably military. She had striking violet skin and silver hair pulled back in a severe bun, with eyes that glowed a faint amber. "I am Commander Lyra Vex of Navera, 7. You crashed on our planet 3 days ago. Your ship was nearly destroyed." Her tone was clipped professional, but Marcus detected something else underneath. Curiosity, perhaps even wonder. "My crew." Marcus tried to sit up, but gentle hands pressed him back down. "You were alone in the vessel," said another voice, softer and warmer. A woman with cream-colored skin and rose-gold hair leaned over him, her touch careful as she adjusted the four in his arm. Unlike the commander's cold assessment, her emerald eyes held genuine compassion. "I'm Sarah Nightbloom, medical officer. Please, don't strain yourself. You've been through significant trauma." Marcus's mind raced, trying to piece together fragmented memories. The colony mission, the asteroid field, the emergency landing sequence. But something was wrong, very wrong. "Why are you all staring at me like that?" The women exchanged glances, and Marcus noticed a mixture of emotions rippling through the crowd. Excitement, fear, desire, suspicion. It made his skin prickle with unease. Commander Lyra crossed her arms. "Because Marcus Thorne of Earth, you're the first human male to set foot on Navera. 7 in 105 years. As far as we're aware, you may be the last man alive in this entire sector of space." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He looked around the medical bay again, this time with new understanding. Every face, every person, every guard at the door, all women. The weight of their stares suddenly made terrifying sense. That's impossible," he whispered. Sarah's hand found his, squeezing gently. "I'm afraid it's very possible, and very complicated." Commander Lyra's expression remained unreadable, but Marcus caught the slight tension in her jaw. "Rest now. Tomorrow we'll explain everything. And then, Marcus Thorne, we'll decide what to do with you." As the crowd was ushered out, Marcus caught whispers that chilled him. "He's real. I never thought I'd see. The prophecies were true." Sarah remained behind, checking his vital signs with practiced efficiency. When she thought he wasn't looking, Marcus saw her steal glances at him. Not clinical observations, but something far more human and vulnerable. "Am I in danger?" he asked quietly. Sarah paused, then met his eyes with startling honesty. "That depends on who you ask. Some see you as salvation. Others see you as a threat to everything we built." She smiled sadly. "But I think you might be something else entirely, a chance for us to remember what we've lost." As she dimmed the lights and left him alone, Marcus stared at the ceiling, his heart pounding. Whatever world he'd crashed into, nothing in his training had prepared him for this. The first man in 105 years. The weight of that reality settled over him like a shroud, and sleep was a long time coming. Morning on Navera. 7 arrived with a peculiar lavender light, filtering through the medical bay's windows. Marcus had barely slept, his mind churning with questions and uncertainties. When Sarah entered with a tray of food, strange fruits that shimmer with an otherworldly glow and protein cubes that smelled surprisingly appetizing, she wore a cautious smile. "Commander Vex wants to see you in the council chamber," Sarah said, helping him sit up. "You're strong enough to walk now. The nanites in your 4 have accelerated your recovery." Marcus touched the spot where the 4 had been, finding only smooth skin. "Nanites? We've had to become innovative survivors, Sarah said softly. You'll understand soon. The walk through the facility revealed a society that was simultaneously advanced and haunted. The architecture blended organic curves with crystalline technology, but Marcus noticed the emptiness. Children's play areas long abandoned, sections sealed off, a melancholy that permeated everything despite the technological marvels. The council chamber was a circular room with a domed ceiling that displayed the planet's twin moons. Commander Lyra stood beside a holographic display, flanked by two other women. One was elderly with deep bronze skin and knowing eyes, her hair a cascade of silver adorned with what looked like living flowers. The other was younger, with pale blue skin and an expression of barely concealed hostility. Marcus Thorne, meet Council Elder Mira Dawnweaver and Vice Commander Zara Crimson, Lyra announced formally. Zara's crimson eyes narrowed as she circled him like a predator. He looks ordinary enough. I fail to see what justifies this hysteria. That's enough, Zara, Elder Mira said gently. She approached Marcus with a warm but sad smile. Young man, you deserve the truth. Please sit. What Marcus learned over the next hour shattered his understanding of everything. Earth's colony ship had arrived on Nevera 7 generations ago, finding it inhabited by an indigenous species, the Novarians, who were exclusively female and reproduced through a form of parthenogenesis. The humans and Novarians had merged cultures, even biologies, through careful genetic integration, creating a hybrid society of remarkable diversity and harmony. Then came the plague. It started as a simple virus, Elder Mira explained, her voice heavy with old grief. Something in the planet's ecosystem that reacted catastrophically with human male genetics. Within 5 years, every man-human hybrid, even those born here, was dead. We tried everything. Every cure, every quarantine, every desperate measure. Lyra pulled up medical records, images of the dying, the desperate attempts at preservation. We managed to save genetic material, created artificial reproduction technology. Our society survived, but something was lost, Marcus finished quietly. He'd seen it in every corridor, every face. A new voice interrupted from the doorway. Not just culturally, biologically. A woman strode in wearing a scientist's coat, her appearance striking. She had gradient skin that shifted from gold to deep purple and hair that seemed to defy gravity, floating in gentle waves around her face. I'm Dr. Kaya Starwind, Chief Geneticist. May I? At Lyra's nod, Kaya approached Marcus with a handheld scanner, her movements graceful and confident. As she examined him, Marcus felt the intensity of her gaze. Not just scientific curiosity, but unmistakable attraction that made his pulse quicken. Fascinating, Kaya murmured, standing close enough that he could smell her subtle perfume, like rain and electricity. Your genetic structure is pristine, uncorrupted by the plague markers. Mr. Thorne, you're not just the first man in 105 years. You might be the key to understanding what we lost and why our society has been slowly declining despite all our technology. Declining? Marcus asked. Elder Mira nodded gravely. Our birth rates drop each generation. Depression and listlessness plague our youth. We've achieved stability, but we're withering. Some believe we need genetic diversity. Others think we need, she paused delicately, the balance that comes from a truly mixed society. Zara slammed her hand on the table. What we need is to maintain our independence. We built something pure here, something free from the chaos and violence that men brought to old Earth. He's a contamination, a threat to everything we become. That's enough. Lyra's command cut through the tension. This council will not make decisions based on fear or prejudice. As the debate intensified, Marcus felt overwhelmed. He caught Sarah's eye where she stood by the door, and her gentle smile steadied him. But it was Kaya who approached afterward, pressing a small device into his hand. My lab coordinates, she whispered, her breath warm against his ear. Come tonight. There's more you need to know, things they won't tell you in council chambers. Her fingers lingered on his, the touch electric with promise and danger. As Marcus was escorted back to his quarters, he realized he'd become the center of something much larger than himself, a focal point for hopes, fears, and desires that had been building for over a century. The question was, what kind of man did he want to be in this strange new world? Night fell over Nevera 7 with unexpected swiftness, the twin moons casting ethereal shadows across Marcus's quarters. He'd been given a modest apartment in what Sarah called the integration wing, rooms designed for visitors that hadn't been used in decades. The furniture was comfortable but clearly feminine in design, the colors soft and calming. Marcus held Kaya's device, debating, but before he could decide, a soft knock came at his door. Sarah stood in the hallway, now dressed in civilian clothes, a flowing garment that shimmered like water, her rose-gold hair loose around her shoulders. She looked nervous, glancing down the corridor before slipping inside. "I shouldn't be here," she said immediately. "There's a protocol, no unsupervised contact until the council decides your status. But I couldn't leave you alone on your first real night here. That seemed cruel." Marcus gestured to the seating area. "I'm grateful for the company. This has been the strangest day of my life." Sarah settled onto the couch, tucking her legs beneath her in a gesture that was endearingly human despite her alien features. "Tell me about Earth. The real Earth, not the history files we have. What was it like to grow up in a world with balance?" They talked for hours. Marcus shared memories of his childhood, his parents, his sister, the simple normalcy of a world where gender diversity was taken for granted. Sarah listened with rapt attention, asking questions that revealed how much of society had lost. "We have the knowledge," she said softly, "but not the experience. I've never heard a father sing a lullaby, never seen a son embrace his mother, never witnessed the particular magic that happens when people with different perspectives love each other without politics or purpose. Just love." "What about you?" Marcus asked. "What's it like here?" Sarah's expression grew wistful. "Beautiful but hollow. We have art, music, incredible technology. We're safe, orderly, peaceful. But there's a loneliness that permeates everything. We reproduce clinically. We form partnerships based on compatibility algorithms. We've optimized efficiency but lost spontaneity." She turned to face him fully. "Do you know what I felt when I first saw you?" Marcus's heart rate increased. "What?" "Terror," she admitted. "And then possibility. Like something dormant inside me suddenly woke up and started asking questions I've been trained never to ask." The air between them grew charged with unspoken tension. Marcus knew he should be cautious, should remember his precarious position, but Sarah's honesty demanded his own. "I feel it too," he said quietly. "This pull, like we're meant to understand each other." Sarah moved closer, her hand reaching tentatively toward his face. "May I?" At his nod, she traced his jawline with wondering fingers. "Your structure is different. Stronger here, sharper angles. It's like you're designed to complement rather than mirror." Marcus caught her hand gently, holding it against his cheek. "Sarah, if this is forbidden—" "Everything worthwhile is forbidden," she interrupted, her emerald eyes bright with emotion. "That's what we've learned over 105 years. Safety through restriction, survival through suppression." She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "But I don't want to just survive anymore, Marcus. I want to feel alive." The kiss happened like gravity, inevitable, natural, right? Her lips were soft and warm, and Marcus tasted something sweet and foreign, wonderful and terrifying. Sarah made a small sound of surprise and pleasure, her hand sliding into his hair as she pressed closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Sarah's luminescent markings glowed brighter, something Marcus hadn't seen before. She noticed his fascination and laughed self-consciously. "Emotional response," she explained. "When we feel intensely, our Novarian heritage manifests. I'm literally glowing because of you." Marcus traced one of the luminous patterns on her arm, marveling at the warmth beneath. "You're incredible." They spent the night talking and stealing kisses, careful not to push too far, but unable to resist the connection building between them. Sarah shared secrets about Nevera 7, the growing faction that wanted isolation, the underground movement seeking to reconnect with Earth, the prophecies that some believe foretold a return of balance. "Commander Vex is torn," Sarah confided as dawn approached. She wants to do right by our people, but Zara whispers poison in her ear constantly. And then there's Kaya. What about her? Kaya sees you as a scientific marvel first, a person second. Be careful with her, Marcus. She's brilliant but ruthless in pursuit of knowledge. A sharp knock at the door made them both freeze. Sarah's face went pale as Zara's voice called out. Medical Officer Nightbloom, I know you're in there. Step out immediately. Sarah squeezed Marcus's hand once, her eyes apologetic and defiant at once. Worth it, she whispered, before opening the door. Zara stood flanked by 2 guards, her expression triumphant and cold. Violation of isolation protocol. You're confined to quarters pending disciplinary hearing. Her gaze slid to Marcus with unveiled contempt. Already corrupting our people. How predictable. As Sarah was led away, she looked back once, her markings still faintly glowing. Marcus felt something shift inside him, a determination he hadn't known he possessed. He wasn't just a curiosity or a threat or a solution to someone else's problem. He was a person who'd found something rare and precious in this strange world, and he'd be damned if he let fear and politics destroy it. The game, as they said on old Earth, was officially on. The council chamber felt different this time, charged with tension and unspoken accusations. Marcus stood in the center while Commander Lyra presided, her amber eyes carefully neutral. Sarah was positioned to the side under guard, her head held high despite the circumstances. Zara looked smugly victorious, while Elder Mira seemed deeply troubled. Kai observed everything with calculating interest. Medical Officer Nightbloom, you violated direct quarantine protocols. Lyra began, her voice formal. Contact with the visitor was explicitly forbidden until his status was determined. What do you have to say? Sarah's voice rang out clear and strong. I say that treating a sentient being like a specimen in isolation is wrong. I say that our protocols have become excuses for fear. And I say that in one evening, I learned more about what we've lost than in 20 years of historical archives. Murmurs rippled through the assembled witnesses. Zara stepped forward. She's been compromised. This is exactly why he's dangerous. He manipulates through his mere presence, awakening primitive impulses we've evolved beyond. Evolved beyond? Marcus couldn't stay silent. Or suppressed so long you've forgotten their part of being alive? Zara whirled on him. You know nothing about us. We build a peaceful, stable society. We don't have your earth wars, your violence, your oppression. And you don't have joy, Marcus interrupted quietly. Real, spontaneous, messy joy. I've seen your city. It's beautiful and empty. Your people move like ghosts through their routines, and you call it peace. How dare you? Enough! Lyra's command silenced the room. She descended from her platform, approaching Marcus directly. For a long moment, she simply studied him, and Marcus saw the conflict raging behind her eyes. You're right, she finally said, and that terrifies me. The admission shocked everyone. Zara sputtered protests, while Elder Mira smiled softly, as if this was exactly what she'd been waiting for. Lyra continued, her voice dropping so only Marcus could hear. Come with me. Now, there's something you need to see. She led him through secured corridors, past checkpoints where guards saluted but looked confused. They finally reached a sealed door marked with warning symbols. Lyra placed her hand on a biometric scanner, and the door hissed open to reveal what looked like a memorial chamber. The walls were covered with images, photographs, videos frozen in time, artistic renderings. Men and women together, families, couples in embrace, children playing with fathers, the life that had been lost. This is classified, Lyra said quietly. Zara wanted it destroyed, said it caused too much pain, too much longing for what we can't have. But Elder Mira and I preserved it. She touched one image, a younger version of herself standing between 2 people, clearly her parents. Her father had his arm around her mother, both beaming. I was 5 when he died, Lyra whispered. The plague took him in 3 days. I watched him waste away, watched my mother transform from a vibrant woman into a hollow shell. She died 2 years later, not from the plague, from grief. They called it system failure, but I knew better. Marcus stood beside her, witnessing her vulnerability. "I'm sorry. I swore I'd never let our people hurt like that again," Lyra continued. "That's why I've been so cautious with you. Not because I believe Zara's paranoia, but because I'm afraid." She finally turned to face him, and Marcus saw tears on her cheeks. "I'm afraid of hoping. I'm afraid of wanting. I'm afraid that if I let myself feel what I felt when I first saw you, that shock of recognition, that sense of rightness, it will destroy me when you inevitably leave or die or prove to be just another disappointment." The admission hung between them, raw and honest. Marcus reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and gently wiped a tear from her face. "What if I don't leave? What if I'm not a disappointment?" "Then everything changes," Lyra breathed. "Everything we built, everything we become, it all has to be reimagined. Maybe it needs to be—" The space between them evaporated. Unlike his kiss with Sarah, sweet and discovering, this was urgent and desperate. Lyra kissed him like she was claiming something she'd been denied her entire life, her hands gripping his shoulders as if he might disappear. Marcus responded with equal intensity, feeling her strength and her vulnerability in equal measure. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Lyra looked shaken. "This is madness. I'm the commander. I'm supposed to be objective, rational." "You're also a person," Marcus said firmly, "with needs and desires and the right to choose your own path." A klaxon suddenly blared through the facility. Lyra's communicator crackled to life. "Commander, emergency in the primary life support system. Multiple cascade failures. We're losing atmospheric processors in sectors 4 through 7. Lyra's training kicked in immediately. Status of affected areas? 200 people in immediate danger. We're evacuating, but the backup systems aren't responding. It's like something's corrupting our entire network." They raced back to the command center, where chaos reigned. Kaya was already at a terminal, her fingers flying across holographic displays. "It's a systemic failure," she called out. "The bioorganic components are rejecting the technological interface. I've never seen anything like this." Marcus pushed forward, studying the displays. His engineering training from the colony ship kicked in. "Wait, this pattern. It's not a failure, it's a conflict. Your systems are too homogeneous. They need variable input to stabilize." Kaya looked at him sharply. "What do you mean?" "Your entire society has become genetically uniform over 105 years, Marcus explained rapidly. "Even your technology has adapted to that uniformity. But bioorganic systems need diversity to remain resilient. You've achieved incredible stability, but at the cost of adaptability. The smallest disruption cascades because there's no variation to absorb the shock." "That's actually brilliant," Kaya breathed. "But how do we fix it right now?" Marcus's mind raced. "The solution has to introduce variability into the system. My genetic markers are different from anyone here. If we could use my biosignature to create a bridge protocol, that could work." Kaya was already pulling up new screens. "But I'll need your help. You have to interface directly with the system, and it's going to be painful." "Do it," Marcus said without hesitation. Lyra grabbed his arm. "Marcus, we don't know if this is safe. 200 people, Lyra. We don't have time for safe." What followed was the most excruciating hour of Marcus's life. Connected to the bioorganic network through neural interfaces, he felt every fluctuation, every system fighting for balance. Kaya guided him through the process, her voice steady even as Marcus's body convulsed from the feedback. Sarah broke free from her guards and held his hand, her presence an anchor in the storm. Finally, gloriously, the system stabilized. The klaxon ceased. The displays showed green across all sectors. Marcus collapsed, supported by both Sarah and Lyra, while Kaya ran diagnostics with tears streaming down her face. It worked. By the ancestors, it actually worked. Elder Myra's voice carried through the command center. "I believe we have our answer about Marcus Thorne's place in our society." Even Zara looked shaken, her certainty crumbling in the face of undeniable proof. The following morning, Marcus woke in a medical bay again, but this time surrounded by flowers and gifts from grateful citizens. Sarah sat beside his bed, holding his hand. while Lyra stood at the window, silhouetted against the twin suns rising over Nevera 7. "You've created quite the situation," Lyra said without turning around. "Half the population wants to declare you a hero. The other half is terrified of what you represent." "And you?" Marcus asked quietly. Lyra finally turned, and her expression was softer than he'd ever seen it. "I think I'm ready to stop being afraid." The door opened to admit Elder Mira, Kaya, and surprisingly, Zara. The vice commander looked uncomfortable, but determined. "I owe you an apology," Zara said stiffly. "My prejudice nearly cost lives." "That's inexcusable." Marcus nodded, accepting without gloating. "Fear makes us all do questionable things." Elder Mira smiled warmly. "The council has reached a decision, Marcus Thorne. We're offering you citizenship and asking for your help, not as a solution to our problems, but as a partner in building something new." "What exactly does that mean?" Marcus asked. Kaya stepped forward, her scientific enthusiasm bubbling over. "It means we're reopening Earth communications. Your ship had beacon coordinates we'd lost generations ago. It means we're going to start diversifying our genetic programs with proper consent and ethics. No pressure on you specifically, but opening ourselves to the galaxy again. It means we're going to redesign our society from the ground up, keeping what works and changing what doesn't." "It won't be easy," Lyra added. "There will be resistance, challenges, probably some chaos. Our perfect ability is going to become uncertain growth." "Sounds like life," Marcus said with a slight smile. Sarah squeezed his hand. "The question is, do you want to be part of it? We're not asking you to be our savior or our solution. We're asking if you want to stay as yourself, with all your flaws and complications, and help us remember how to be ourselves too." Marcus looked around at these extraordinary women, each so different, each having claimed a piece of his heart in their own way. Sarah with her compassion and courage, Lyra with her strength and vulnerability, Kaya with her brilliant, hungry mind, even Zara with her fierce protectiveness of her people, and Elder Mira with her patient wisdom. "I have conditions," he said finally. "Name them," Lyra replied. "First, Sarah's disciplinary charges are dropped. She did nothing wrong. We both made a choice." "Already done," Elder Mira confirmed. "Second, any changes we make are collaborative. I'm not a king or a prize. I'm one voice among many." "Agreed," Lyra said firmly. "Third," Marcus paused, feeling the weight of what he was about to say. "I need time to actually know this place and these people before making permanent decisions. I'm willing to stay, to help, to build something together. But I need to do it honestly, which means admitting I don't have all the answers, and neither do any of you." Kyle laughed, the most intelligent thing anyone said in years. What followed over the next months was a transformation unlike anything Nevera 7 had seen in a century. Marcus worked alongside Kai in the labs, helping develop new protocols that embraced diversity rather than uniformity. He trained with Lyra's security forces, learning their combat techniques while teaching them Earth's defensive strategies. He spent long evenings with Sarah in the hospital, where she introduced him to Novarian healing arts that blended technology with something almost spiritual. The signal to Earth was sent. Responses would take years, but hope had been kindled. Marcus's relationship with Sarah deepened into something profound. Not possessive or exclusive, but genuine and tender. They explored what it meant to build intimacy in a world learning to embrace emotion rather than suppress it. Lyra became a close friend and occasional confidant, their mutual respect growing into trust. Kaya remained fascinated by him, their relationship intellectually stimulating and occasionally flirtatious, though she threw herself primarily into the scientific revolution his presence had sparked. One evening, 6 months after his arrival, Marcus stood on a balcony overlooking Nevera 7's capital city. The streets below were different now, louder, messier, more alive. Children played in spaces that had been empty. Laughter echoed where silence had reigned. The perfect crystalline order had given way to organic chaos, and it was beautiful. Sarah joined him, slipping her arm around his waist. Her markings glowed softly in the twilight. Something that happened often now, a visible sign of the emotion she no longer hid. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. Marcus considered the question honestly. Sometimes, I miss my family, my old life, but I don't regret being here. This feels like purpose. We received another transmission today, Sarah said quietly. 3 more colony ships want to establish contact. Word is spreading that Nevera 7 is opening its borders. Within a decade, there could be thousands of new arrivals, men and women, all kinds of diversity. How do you feel about that? Sarah smiled, and it was radiant, terrified, excited, hopeful, all the things we weren't allowed to feel for so long. She turned to face him fully. You gave us permission to be complicated again, Marcus. To be uncertain and messy and gloriously, frustratingly alive. Inside, music started, real, spontaneous music, not the algorithmic compositions of before. Someone had rediscovered old earth jazz, and the improvisational sound drifted to the evening air. Dance with me? Marcus asked, extending his hand. Sarah laughed, taking it. I don't know how. Neither do I, really. We'll figure out together. As they swayed to the imperfect rhythm, Marcus caught glimpses of the windows of Lyra laughing with her officers, Kaya arguing passionately with her research team, Elder Mira teaching youngsters the old stories, even Zara cautiously engaging with the new arrivals who come from outer settlements seeking this change. The first man in 105 years had become simply a man among many, different, yes, but not separate, not a solution, but a catalyst, not a savior, but a partner in the messy, beautiful work of building a future where everyone had the right to choose their own path. The twin moons rose over Nevera 7, and for the first time in over a century, the planet felt truly alive. Not perfect, but real. Not stable, but growing. Not an ending, but a beginning. And that, Marcus thought as Sarah's head rested against his shoulder, was exactly as it should be. The end.